Hey everyone, it's Scott Hansen from NFL Red Zone reminding you to watch Sports Ballers, the podcast that gets you caught up on everything Washington sports and beyond.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Sports Ballers podcast. I'm Evan Ash, joined as always by Corey Puffett and Eric Meyer. This is a big episode for us. This is episode 153, and more importantly, this is episode 1 of season 4 of our show. So we've been at this for a little while. In addition, it's a special episode because we have a guest this week. Sean Kennedy is joining us.
Hey, glad to be here.
Yes, so we've cut our listener base in half because, one of the people who listens to the show is on it this week. So, let's just go ahead and get started. There's a lot to get to because we missed last week, unfortunately. We were not out committing podultery, but we're back this week. So I guess just starting the NBA right quick. Get this out of the way. So the NBA Finals happened since our last show. Congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks. Woohoo for them. Where are they? The Deerfield or whatever. The people standing outside the stadium.
Deer District.
Deer District.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, gotta have that alliteration there, Evan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so they were happy. The NBA draft happened. I watched literally zero of this.
Same.
I
forgot it was a thing.
I watched the draft, the entire thing. So, yeah.
All right, so take us through picks 1 through 60.
Well, the Detroit Pistons drafted Cade Cunningham, and I'm not doing the rest because it's not that interesting.
How did it match up with your mock that you did?
I didn't really do a mock, so I can't say it matched up well. But
who was Mr. Irrelevant?
I don't remember.
Somebody really irrelevant.
It's not really a thing in basketball.
Even more irrelevant than number 250 something. Whatever,
honestly,
whatever it is.
The last pick of the 7th round of the NFL draft has a better chance to have meaningful impact on an NFL team than the number 60 pick.
It's true.
The number 60 pick will probably end up in the G League. So
if they're lucky.
Yeah, they'll probably end up. What I mean is they'll end up in the G League for a little while, and then they'll probably be out of the G League too. So I don't really know anything about that. The draft went pretty. There's nothing explosive with the NBA draft, which is kind of what you really look for because you kind of have an idea of who the top 4 or 5 picks are going to be. So you're kind of looking at, is somebody going to make a big trade to move up? Is somebody going to take some of their picks and flip them for a veteran player or an all-star? There was potential that the Golden State Warriors could do that because they had 2 of them, but they stood pat and took 2 players, both of which look like pretty good prospects, but as of right now, they're Golden State Warriors and not somewhere else. So that could change, especially with free agency coming up. And obviously there's going to be some moves made by every team that's trying to get better and get into a contention window, but the draft was pretty ho-hum as far as action that night. In fact, the biggest action had really nothing to do with the draft. I mean, there was a pick exchange. The Wizards acquired the number 22 pick from the Lakers, but Russell Westbrook went to...
Right.
That swap did not happen during the draft. It happened well before. And so Russell Westbrook is now a Laker, and the Lakers sent the Wizards a ton of players. They sent him Kyle Kuzma, who, it's Kyle Kuzma. Depends on your perspective. If you're a Lakers fan, you hate Kyle Kuzma because you think he's a bum.
I think he's decent. Doesn't get me excited, but
he's absolutely nothing to get excited about. But Montrezl Harrell's a pretty good player. They got him. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a good player. They got him. So there's some decent return for the Wizards there. And frankly, the Wizards are in a position where they're not in any competitive window at all as far as trying to win the East. We know that. They didn't even finish above 500 last year, and they'd be lucky, I think, to make the playoffs this coming season unless they retool this team, which they still could. But getting rid of Russell Westbrook helped shed some salary for them, puts them in a better position to build a team around Bradley Beal if Bradley Beal wants to stick around, which is still sort of to be determined.
Just funny they went and got Russell Westbrook for all of 1 year, and a shortened year at that.
Yeah, but
That's what they usually do.
But if you think about it, it worked out better for him because Russell Westbrook was much more tradable than John Wall would be, because Russ played better than John Wall this last year.
Yeah.
And so by having him be a factor on the Wizards and play as well as he did, which was still not, amazing or anything, but he did average a triple-double for the fourth time.
That's true. But why are we why are we acquiring players specifically for the intent of trading them? Like, we should be trying to get players who are going to be able to, be a part of the Wizards building something.
What about the Wizards way? Whoever the new GM came in, he's like, we're establishing the Wizards way. So,
Well, the Wizards way is disappearing.
12th place in the East.
Yes.
Wizards way.
Well, so let me answer Corey's question first about, here's the thing, John Wall's contract, the only contract that was comparably less tradable was Russell Westbrook's, which is why they made the swap. And so then Russ earned a little bit of equity this year, so then they could move Russ as well. So there really wasn't an avenue. There was no real way they could get out from under John Wall's contract without taking on something seemingly just as bad. And then they somehow managed to move Russ's contract because he played well. And for some reason, the Lakers were interested in him, even though I don't think he really fits with what they do. So I think it's a good move for Washington. I realize that it seems weird that you just acquired Russ and then you ship him out of town. But this is sort of the nature of the beast. It's kind of like what the Oklahoma City Thunder did with Chris Paul, where they acquired him as a means to acquire other assets, and then they flipped him the following year, even after he played well for them, to get more assets because they just weren't in a realistic contention window. The issue with the Wizards is they don't have anything to really build off of. They got Bradley Beal, who's a very good player, but he's not going to be the best player on a title team, and he makes a lot of money, and he wants to win probably right now while he's in his prime. So you don't really know if you're going to be able to keep him around long term. And if you are, you've got to be able to have assets to build around him, because trying to build around him and Russ just isn't going to work. That's not a backcourt that can win a championship. So I think that they're trying to do some things. I just think that the hole that they were in coming into the season and prior seasons, because some of the decisions that were made and the failure of the team to get young talent, it just makes it hard for anybody. It's like the Baltimore Orioles. You got to start somewhere, and this is sort of year zero of the rebuild that we talked about for Baltimore in 2018. That's kind of where the Wizards are right now. So at the very least, they've got one really good player that can keep them at least interesting to watch.
I have more faith in the Orioles actually executing a successful rebuild, though.
Well, I do too, because I trust their general manager. He has a track record of success in Houston, so I don't
even care about that. I just care that I don't trust the Wizards.
I mean, the Orioles have never really been a team to trust either. So,
they have
just not before we were born, or before we were born they were. Now, currently, not particularly. Not since Peter Angelos bought the team, which was when I was 2 years old.
Yes. Let's see. Moving on. You mentioned Russell Westbrook to the Lakers. Kawhi and Chris Paul have opted out. Both are free agents. Apparently, Kawhi is expected to re-sign with the Clippers. Where's Chris Paul gonna go? And why is he leaving Phoenix? They had a good run.
Well, I put the question mark there because when the news broke that Kawhi was going to not take his player option, the story followed up immediately saying expectations he's going to re-sign with the Clippers. Whereas the Chris Paul story broke within a couple hours of that story, and there was no such disclaimer saying Chris Paul's going back to the Suns, don't worry about it. So that's the only reason why I kind of put that in there. He still, in all likelihood, will go back to the Suns, but it's just, it doesn't seem like it's a formality.
So
it seems
why
like
are
it's
these
just...
two players opting out of player options with those teams if they're going to re-sign? Like, neither of them was so good this year that they're going to sign for more than their player option would be worth, are they?
There might be some financial incentives that benefit in terms of signing next year because they've put in enough time at that point to be able to sign a supermax. But I don't really understand. That's a good question with Kawhi. Perhaps it's a financial security issue and he wants a new deal now instead of opting
to get like
in.
multiple years rather than just being on the 1 year player option.
I think that's where Kawhi Leonard is right now. With Chris Paul, again, we don't really know where he wants to be or what he's going to do next season if he's going to return to the Suns. I do think it's interesting that supposedly Kawhi Leonard going back to the Clippers is a done deal, and yet another disclaimer in the story that came out today is they're meeting with other teams. He's taking calls.
I mean, he is a free agent, so
understood.
You may as well just kind of
play the field. But
yeah, I mean, gauge the market.
It doesn't really sound like a formality though at this point. It sounds like something else. I mean, it sounds like it's a possibility he could leave. If he's meeting with other teams, he could leave. Alex Ovechkin did not meet with anybody other than the Washington Capitals when he was a free agent. So the fact that that's in the story, maybe that's just to gain some leverage with the Clippers. I don't know, but all I know is the Kawhi Leonard and relationships with teams, it doesn't really work out. He did not get along with people with the Spurs, which is why he left there in a huff. He got sent to Toronto, won a championship, and said, well, I'm not interested in doing that again. Let me go to the Clippers. And
since when does Kawhi say anything, though?
Exactly. So whoever his representation is doing the talking at this point, and it just seems like there's never really any effort from Kawhi's group to grease the wheels here in a positive direction. It's always pulling teeth with them to get exactly what they want. And I don't know if it's because of some trust issues they have or whether it's coming from Kawhi himself, because like you said, Evan, we never hear from him, so we don't really know where his head is. But it seems like every single time this comes up, there's never just a solid commitment. Kawhi is going to be here, period, end of story. There's always some drama with it.
Okay. Anything else to add on the NBA?
Just
the association.
Yeah, free agency starts today. Steph Curry got paid. Signed a supermax extension. $215 million on a 4-year extension. So
worth it.
Yes, absolutely worth it for Golden State.
Every million.
Yeah,
they should pay him 10 times that. Yes,
they probably would if they could, but their CBA requires there's a cap on your max contracts. But $50 million a year is still really, really good. So I don't think he's going to be complaining. Okay. Yeah, plus he makes probably just as much off of endorsement deals and shoes and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's been all over the Olympics with the Subway commercials.
Yep, even though he gets cut off by Tom Brady.
Yeah. And Serena the Subway
Williams.
logo.
Yeah, and just, we're out of time? Oh, yep, commercial's over. But that's it. We'll probably have more news on the NBA next week when some free agents actually get signed. Perhaps some trades happen. We'll have some finality with Kawhi and Chris Paul if they re-sign, which we assume at least one of them will, if not both. But for now, that's all we got.
I think this is one of the times we lost Corey.
Yeah. There we go. So I knew that was going to happen.
I think we lost you guys.
We're good?
Yeah, we can't
because I'm just going to quit out of Skype.
I cannot hear you.
Yes, I know. I've told you. I warned them before the show, and here they go, continue to talk. So we will get them back very quickly here. This is just a weekly thing for us, or semi-weekly. Now that we're actually taking like breaks.
Well, we took a break last week because your car took a crap. So
yeah, my car was not good last week. But you guys back?
Yep, we're back.
Right. We hear you. You're still frozen.
Well, that doesn't really matter.
Oh, well.
So, anyway, NBA talk's done. We can move on.
Alrighty. So, I want to move on to college football.
I do, too.
Yeah.
This is exciting stuff.
Is it, though?
Yes, it is. It's very exciting stuff.
Yeah, this is huge. So, over the past few weeks, there have been multiple seismic shifts in college football, and it seems like each of them is the biggest thing that's ever happened in the history of the sport. And they've been playing college football for 150 years. Oh, there's Corey. So the first thing, I think we talked about this already on this show, the playoff expansion. They were going to expand to 12 teams. And all the people who cash big checks and write slightly smaller big checks are trying to decide how they want to do that. So that's fine. Next, we had the Supreme Court decided that the NCAA can no longer just prevent athletes from making money just cause.
Yay!
So now athletes can be paid and endorsed off of their name, image, and likeness. Apparently, Alabama's quarterback, who has not played a meaningful snap for Alabama yet, his endorsements and such are approaching $1 million in value. And Nick Saban is salty because now somebody makes about 10% of what he does. So obviously you can't have that.
You gotta keep them gotta grind them into the ground, make them know that you own them.
I was listening to a podcast. Apparently, part of being on a Nick Saban teams, you have to be able to run 16 100-yard sprints in a row in the stadium in August.
Yikes.
So, yeah, and you're not allowed to put your hands on your knees to show that you're tired.
That brings back memories of episode 1 of this podcast that I don't have fond memories of.
Yeah, well, apparently that's what they do down there. Strength and conditioning coach is one of those tough guys and stuff.
It's a lot hotter down there than it is up here, and it's pretty hot up here. Although today was a nice day.
Anyway, so now the biggest thing that has happened recently is there was word on the street and it just blew up. Apparently it was leaked that Texas and Oklahoma were interested in leaving the Big 12 for the SEC, and so this just caught on fire, and now it's pretty much official. So Texas and Oklahoma announced to the Big 12 that they're not renewing their media rights, which expire in 2025. So then they also officially submitted a request to be invited to the SEC. The SEC voted unanimously, surprisingly, to extend the invitation to these two schools. I don't know if they've accepted yet, and we're still waiting to see if when this move can actually happen.
I feel like it's too late to do it now. You can't remake schedules at this point.
It's going to be a couple years at least.
Yeah. So the earliest it could be is next season. There'll be a lot of lawyers involved. I mean, At
what point are we just going to consolidate all of the FBS to 4 conferences?
I don't know.
I mean, it's pretty sure like the Big 12 is about to disappear. So
like Heather Dinich was on ESPN last week, and she was like, "Remember the Big East? Exactly. Like this is what happened to them. It just crumbled from."
Well, there's
within.
also the rumor of a couple of ACC teams wanting to join the SEC too.
Yeah. So this is purely a rumor that I saw on Twitter, and stuff on Twitter can blow up from time to time. Apparently,
stuff on Twitter is always true.
Yeah, I don't know. Just certain orange guy got kicked off Twitter, and the world changed in an instant. So,
Well, yeah. Now everything that's on there is true again.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so there's whispers from the bushes and just a rumor on Twitter. This is not news. This might not even be factual, but Clemson and Florida State want to join the SEC as well. I don't know how this is going to work. How do you have 18 schools in one conference? I don't know, but I get the sense that if Clemson and Florida State want in, and the SEC wants them, the SEC needs to kick somebody out at some point, right? Like,
haven't both of those schools been in the SEC in the past?
No.
Really?
It's like, wouldn't they want to stay in the ACC? Because these are the 2 top football schools in the ACC. Like, why would you want to compete against the SEC? And
Sean,
you can beat up NC State and Rutgers.
Sean, the answer
Rutgers
to all
in
of
the
your
Big
questions is money.
Oh, right. Syracuse.
No, that's
Yeah.
That's right. It's money.
Yeah, it's not about winning. It's about making money. So Arkansas
and more money.
Yeah, exactly. Like Arkansas and Vandy make the same amount of money as Alabama and Georgia do.
Oh.
So
Well, then shuffle them on in.
right, exactly. So like by adding Texas and
Maryland,
Oklahoma,
come to the party.
two of the biggest brands in college football, that grows the pie, even though it's being split into more pieces.
Well, why don't they kick Mizzou out? They're kind of useless. They can go.
I mean, I think Mizzou's kind of feeling a little bit like that. Like, hey, we were the Big 12, defectors or whatever. Same with Texas A&M.
Maybe,
I was going to
maybe Texas is going to force them out too because they don't want to play the Aggies.
Yeah, I thought Texas A&M was going to vote against this, but the answer to all your questions is money. So, at the end of the day, it's all about the money. Let's see. I guess we'll go into some Olympic stuff. I haven't been watching any of the Olympics. Corey is
I haven't watched that much either, to be honest.
Yeah, I've been watching the Orioles. I've been traveling.
I have not been watching the Yankees because I've been glued to the Olympics, and it's probably for the best the way the Yankees have been playing lately.
Forgive me for having to go to my job during the day.
Seems like now that I'm not paying attention, they're actually playing well.
Well, they also played the Marlins, so grain of salt.
Yeah. Well, we get to play the Orioles and not the Seahawks, but the Mariners next. So
the Mariners are pretty good. Don't be a hater. They're in the mix. Don't be a hater.
All right, so
don't be a hater.
Olympics. Corey, what do you got on the Olympics?
Well, Simone Biles was the big story of the past week and change. She got what's known as the twisties in the gymnastics community during her warm-up vault before the team competition. Essentially, she went through a practice run of the vault, and in the middle of her routine in the air, she lost track of where she was, and she came out of her spin a full rotation early. You could see it in the slow motion on her face, like she did not know where she was. So she went to the locker room with her coach and a couple other people from Team USA. We all expected she would come back out and she'd be fine to compete. But when she came back out, they made the announcement that she was not going to be competing in the team competition. And social media went bonkers. People giving her grief for quitting on Team USA and quitting on the country and not being tough enough and this and that and the other thing. Just a lot of ridiculousness. Everybody kind of, we don't necessarily need to put too much time into this because it's been talked about at length over the past week or so. We're late getting to it because we had to take last week off. But, we give so many athletes crap for waiting too long to get help and not taking care of their bodies when they either have to retire early because of injuries mounting or when they take their own lives. And then when an athlete decides that the best thing for her health, not only mentally, but physically in this case, when you're dealing with a situation where you're doing twists in midair, you could land on your neck if you lose track, if you lose focus, if you come down wrong. And this happened to basically the Simone Biles of Russia back in the 70s when they were still the USSR. They had a amazing Olympic gymnast who got hurt physically. Her coach pushed her through that pain to complete her event, and she wound up paralyzed for the rest of her life until she died a few years back. When an athlete makes a decision to do what's right for their health, we all can't handle it. Right? Pick a side, right? Like either, so that frustrated me. Not to mention just the dissonance of her teammates were supporting her. And if there's anybody in this situation who you could argue has a right to feel betrayed, it would be her teammates. And none of them even waffled on a question about whether they supported her or not. Like there was no hesitation. They were all very supportive of Simone Biles. So for the rest of us who are not at the Olympics, who don't know what it takes to compete there, who don't understand what it's like to get the twisties in the air, and to try and argue that this girl who has spent the last 5 years working her ass off to get to this point would just decide, I don't really feel like it. You kidding me? So that happened. And then Novak Djokovic decides that he's got to get in on there. And, you know, if there's somebody that you could maybe say outside of her teammates might have a right to have an opinion, it would be another Olympian, because they because they also know what it takes to get to that point. But
no, he doesn't. He's never won
not
gold.
This one.
He's never won gold.
And especially the way that things played out as a whole, because not only did he come out and basically give her grief for her decision, I forget exactly what he said, but something to the effect of you know, when you like, adversity is what we live for as Olympians, something to that effect. And then he goes out and loses a match and throws a damn temper tantrum on the court.
He smashed his racket into the post.
He threw one racket into the stands and then smashed another one into the post in the same match. And then he quits on his teammate for mixed doubles and basically hands the bronze to...
How's that adversity treating you, Novak?
And see, the thing is with Novak is this is not uncommon for him. He's been prone to outbursts on the court. He's smashed rackets. He's notorious early in his career, especially, for leaving matches with any slight adversity. Oh, I'm injured. I gotta quit. You know, so the thing with Simone Biles to me is nobody gets to win as many gold medals as she did in 2016 and accomplish all the things she's accomplished in gymnastics without having a ton of mental and physical strength. Like, you can't do it without that. So if something goes awry, it's serious. And it should be obvious to anybody whose fat ass sits on the couch like me and who doesn't know a damn thing about gymnastics. If the best gymnast in the world competing at the Olympics says, I'm physically unable or I'm mentally unable to perform these dangerous stunts I do in a competition, I shouldn't do this, then I'm going to trust that person that she knows what she's doing, that she's not just being a baby or quitting or copping out when the going gets tough. This is dangerous stuff. Gymnastics is a dangerous, dangerous sport. It is more dangerous than any of the mainstream sports that we watch by a country mile. It's more dangerous than football. It's more dangerous than hockey. It sure as hell is more dangerous than tennis. You know how I know that? Because my grandma plays tennis. That's how I know. My grandma doesn't spin in the air and do gymnastics at 85. That does not happen. Okay? That's not a thing. So it's understood that Simone Biles is incredible at what she does. She's always been a terrific face for the United States. She's a role model. She's dealt with adversity her entire career. She's competed through broken toes, broken ribs, kidney stones. She's dealt with sexual abuse from Larry Nassar. She's the last active survivor of that, which is the main reason she's still competing, even at a relatively advanced age of 24 for a gymnast. Normally, people in the early 20s aren't doing this anymore because, for one thing, like I said, it's incredibly dangerous. And when you get to your mid-20s, you start to realize doing dangerous things can be dangerous, and I should stop. So the fact that she's still in the mix here and she's going to compete in the beam events, I guess today or tomorrow, I don't even know when they happen.
I guess it's today in Japan, but it's like early tomorrow morning.
Yeah, that's why it's always
5 a.m. tomorrow.
Our time.
Yeah, so the fact that she's going to compete in that, for understandable reasons, that the beam events require fewer of the jumps and twists and stuff like that. It's really only on the dismount that you're in the air. That's sort of makes sense. If somebody's got the twisties, they're saying, okay, I'm willing to do this because there's a far greater chance of injury on the other events if I don't get this right. It makes sense that she would say, okay, I can handle this. And again, you should trust the people that do this for a living, that they know what they're doing and they know how to handle their own bodies. And for you to sit at home and just jump on somebody because really bad faith, it has nothing to do with actually being mad at somebody. It's just an excuse to hate on somebody that you're either jealous of, or whether it's because you don't like someone because your political people told you to not like them. Same thing with the U.S. women's soccer team. They're getting a ton of hate today, too. It's all ridiculous, and nobody really buys it. And frankly, nobody really cares what you have to say because these people are extraordinary. We're ordinary. We talk about sports for fun. We make fun of athletes at times on this show for messing up, but we do it under the umbrella, understanding they are so much better at what they do than what we are, what we do, and what we would do is not that cool. So we are understanding. It's like, yes, we're making fun of you for entertainment purposes, but we still have a ton of respect for you.
Yeah.
This has crossed the line of people are just straight up being disrespectful to these people personally, and I find it pathetic.
Yeah. So
To her
hopefully,
critics,
hopefully she comes out of the beam healthy. Obviously, I hope that she wins gold. I hope that she does well, but first and foremost, I just hope that she doesn't get hurt and that, mentally she really is, present.
Yes.
For those finals.
So I say to her critics, most of them need less Cardi B and more cardio. Take your feet out of your mouth. Maybe go for a walk. It helps clear your head space.
And try the salad as well.
Yeah, try the salad option. Maybe eat some vitamins. Get some vitamin D.
Or just
get off your couch.
Or just have a little empathy, man. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Come on,
Just
They're
be
doing
a
something.
better person.
Yeah.
Just do better.
Yeah, it's like they've already won gold medals. Like gymnastics has already won gold medals. Come on, give them a break.
I also get the sense that there's a different standard for criticism, I guess, when the person being criticized is a woman or person of color,
Or both.
or both. Something they do something controversial or that that's atypical or whatever. They make a decision that's for their own health and safety, and it just blows up, right? But if a white man does the same thing, it's like, oh well, whatever.
Shoot, even if it's a woman with a different hair color, like Rapinoe.
Yeah,
the soccer
hair
team,
is pink, whatever.
Yeah, and it also dates back to other situations like Gabby Douglas in prior Olympics was excoriated by media members for supposedly looking too unhappy on the podium. Meanwhile, we've memeified Michaela Maroney for her not impressed face,
right?
Which is fine. We should. That's
absolutely.
I thought it was great,
but the double standard,
the disparity is obvious,
yes.
and that's definitely a thing because, again, I hate to even give these talking points oxygen, but when you see conservative shock jocks get on there, they're not arguing from a position of any type of real merit. It's just, how can we tear down the young black woman today? They're just waiting for an opportunity to do this because damn well if Simone Biles had gone out there and they had taken the team all-around event and she had taken individual gold at every single one of those things, they wouldn't have said a peep. They would not have given her the due praise that she really deserves for both this decision and her prior success. They would have just ignored it because that doesn't appeal to the mouth breathers that listen to them.
Evan, your sister, Farron Ash, who has also been on
Really?
the show in the past, she just commented exactly, white male athletes can do whatever they want.
Well, there you go.
Yep. Enough said there. So moving on to some other sports. I know Sean has been watching a lot of random sports, probably even more than I have. I will say my favorite event to watch so far in these Olympics has been the mixed doubles table tennis. That has been
so good.
So much fun.
I watched that. That was amazing.
The finals between Japan and China on Monday was amazing. It's just the coordination. It's like a dance, because you can't return too straight. So you have to go back and forth, and you have to sort of communicate about where your partner's going to go without actually saying it out loud, because all of your focus has to be on the ball because it's being returned so quickly and in such a small, confined space. That was the most fun I've had watching any Olympic event in my life, I think, was that finals between Japan and China.
Yeah, it was really cool. I checked that out, too, because somebody mentioned it. I think you might have mentioned it. And epic match going on between Japan and China in mixed doubles table tennis. I'm like, I gotta find that.
Yeah,
in one
what
of these
is doubles table tennis?
I've played doubles table tennis. Obviously, not like that.
Not like that.
No, but I knew it existed. I just didn't, appreciate, because there's always something where it's like, yeah, it's always fun to see something that you've done before, like singles table tennis or even doubles or whatever, and you're like, okay, as a casual guy with no real skill at it, I'm a pretty good ping pong player for like us,
Right.
But it's a different level at
That's
the Olympics,
a very
obviously.
different level.
And so
my goodness.
And so you kind of want to see that different level and understand, okay, just how much better are these people are than me, which is the entire reason we watch sports, is to see superhuman feats. That was definitely in the realm of superhuman. That was crazy.
They were more impressive than Forrest Gump, and he was just acting like he could play table tennis. They were making it look like he was amazing at table tennis.
Well, yeah, Tom Hanks isn't that nasty. Let's just be real. He's pretty cool, but he ain't that cool.
So there's been a lot of other really cool events on these Olympics, from handball to water polo, the shooting events. I think the USA won 3 golds in shooting because, of course, we did.
I mean, if we're gonna have all this crazy gun laws and stuff in this country, we better at least dominate the Olympics at it. I mean, come on.
So
I mean,
what's caught
most
your
US
attention, Sean?
I was about to say, but I mean, because most U.S. youth have some experience with small arms in school, so.
Oof.
So of course, we're going to dominate the shooting. We also dominate the swimming events, especially people from Maryland, because we seem to breed some form of like half fish people in Maryland.
They spawn into Patapsco. They just pop up.
I have no idea where it comes from. I'm terrible at swimming.
Yeah, I'm not a good swimmer either. That's like one of the things. Like I'm like, generally, at most sports, I'm okay. Swimming is the one I'm just terrible at. I can't swim.
I'm good enough that I would go and compete in like a sprint distance or even Olympic distance triathlon, but I'm definitely not going to be competitive just swimming. Like I need the bike and the running to catch up a little bit.
I can swim enough to not drown. That's the extent of it. I can get to point A to point B. It'll just take me a while, and I'll be pretty tired.
That's my swimming level as well, Eric.
I prefer a floaty and a beer.
Yeah. Like growing up, used to go to a day camp, and every now and then we go swimming, and like you had to wear a wristband based on your swim level, and like apparently I was level 3 out of 5, and like I was told toward the end of my time there that you can get to level 4 pretty easily, and that 7-year-olds can get to level 4. I did not make it to level 4, and that was that.
Yeah, I was in the same boat when I went to camp. I was always among the level 3s when everybody else that was sort of my age were level 4s, and I'm like, I feel like I'm not that much worse than you. They were like, yeah, but you didn't really argue it either. I was like, yeah, because I didn't care.
My dad made sure I could swim. He used to be a lifeguard, so I was going to know how to swim.
Yeah, the best swimming I got was like some summer camp crap, so. And
Plus,
plus,
go
I'm
together
just not
into
that
the
good at
pool.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Too bad they didn't have drown proofing anymore at Georgia Tech. That was a real class. They used to tie your hands and feet together and throw you in a pool, and
It sounds like something a frat would do.
It sounds like hazing.
That sounds illegal.
No, this was a required course.
Well, but so what do you do? How do you get out of the pool if you're tied up?
I don't know, but you have to figure it out.
Wait, did you fail?
Well, if
did
he
you
failed,
drown?
He would not be here if he failed.
Yeah.
I'm very confused. Like, that's the point. I'm confused as to how Evan is here if he doesn't know. How
They
you get...
discontinued this practice like in the 80s, but
Oh, okay.
Okay.
they used to have drown proofing. Yeah, so
Good God.
I probably would have failed drown proofing.
Sounds like
I don't know what
I
you
don't
do
know.
with drown
I don't know how anybody would have passed that if you're tied
I
up.
don't either. So what about all these others? Corey, what is artistic gymnastics?
You'll have to ask Sean that question because I have not watched that
I've
one.
heard of rhythmic gymnastics, but not
I'm assuming it's similar.
It's like rhythmic gymnastics, but like without the twirling and stuff.
Okay.
I would have thought
I think
that the artistic would have the twirling.
The little stupid paper things they
Yeah.
go around with. I hate that.
The ribbons?
Yeah, the ribbons.
So dumb.
So
they
it's
batons?
like they do. It's like the stuff like pommel horse and like the rings and all that stuff.
That's artistic gymnastics?
That's artistic gymnastics.
I thought that
So,
was
like,
just
the,
regular
parallel
gymnastics,
bars.
but like the men do it and the women don't.
Yeah, I think they just kind of cut some and then lumped others together. But it's like, the rings, parallel bars. Yeah, just do a bunch of fancy flips on that kind of stuff.
That sounds like regular gymnastics.
Yeah, they just added artistic to, I guess.
Like
differentiate
I've
it.
seen gymnastics events where they have to choreograph like a routine to a set of music, so it's almost like
Well, like the
dance
floor, yeah, like the
gymnastics.
floor.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, but it just sounds like gymnastics to me. Let's be
so the floor. Yeah, so like for the floor exercise, that is like part of artistic gymnastics. But it just includes like pommel horse, still rings, vault, parallel bars, and the horizontal bars. So
That
just
sounds
kind
like
of
it's just the team event.
yeah, it's like a team event. So you just put your best guys forward.
What else has caught your attention these Olympics?
So handball is one sport where I am not sure why the U.S. has not latched onto it.
I can't. I've had a hard time getting into the handball. Like it keeps coming on. Like I leave it on, but I don't really pay a lot of attention because like you're basically just like running into everybody, and then you throw it, and the goalie never blocks it. So the scores end up like 54-38, even though they count by ones.
It's high pace, and you know it's very fast paced, but it's entertaining. It's more fun to play. Like I
prefer water polo. It's sort of like handball, but it's in the water. It's a lot. I prefer that.
Yeah, it's essentially the same thing, but not in water. It's for the handball. It's for the water polo players who can't swim.
like us. Perfect for us level 3 swimmers. We can play handball.
Yeah. There's been a Woj bomb. Former Raptors guard Kyle Lowry will sign a 3-year deal with Heat after landing via sign and trade. From Woj.
Good for him.
I also saw that Jimmy Butler signed an extension with the Heat for 4 more years. So.
Cool.
There you
4
go.
more years. 4 more years.
Yeah.
Oh dear. What about Corey? You have on here running.
Sean put all of this on there except for table tennis. None of this is me. I honestly have not watched a lot of the track events. I've watched a little. I watched some of the trials for the women's 400 hurdles because those are always entertaining. And we had one girl, and I don't remember her. It was something Muhammad. I forget her first name. But she ran, like, it looked so easy, and she blew out the rest of the field during her first heat.
So there's in the women's 1500 meter heat, there was a Netherlands runner, Sifan Hassan, fell down, got up, and then won.
Wow.
Like when they tripped and fell on the last lap, got up, and then just smoked everybody else.
We did have a dude in the 800 who got tripped up coming out of the final turn. He was in a position to compete for a bronze, maybe a silver, and he got tripped up, and so that was that. If you fall in the 800, you're pretty much just done. 1500 is still tough to come back from because it's become such a fast race, but it's doable. I had the men's 10,000 on, but I didn't really pay close attention. The
10,000 meter hurdles?
No, not hurdles.
Oh.
10,000 meter run.
Okay. I was gonna say
the hurdles
6
only goes up to
miles of
400.
jumping over stuff.
The hurdles only goes up to 400. They do have steeplechase at a longer distance, but that's different.
That's the one with
the mixed 4x4 was pretty entertaining. In the first round, we got disqualified because one of the officials put us on the track in the wrong place, and so we appealed the disqualification and were allowed to run in the finals, and we wound up getting. I think we wound up getting like 4th. I don't think we medaled.
Okay.
Yeah, Poland won it.
Poland.
Yeah.
So
we did get second in the mixed triathlon. That was a cool event. It made its Olympic debut.
What does mixed mean?
So mixed is male and female.
Together?
Yeah, so the mixed triathlon was 2 men, 2 women, each running like roughly a quarter or so of a triathlon. So like they'd swim and bike and run. Each of them would. And they do the whole thing, and then the next person would go through the same thing, but it was cut down in distance. They weren't doing the full triathlon distance.
Oh.
Yeah, we got silver. I think Great Britain got gold and France got bronze. So it was a lot of red, white, and blue on that podium.
Mm-hmm.
Switching sports over to boxing.
Sean, before there's been another Woj bomb.
Oh boy.
It's free agency, baby.
Chris Paul agrees to stay with Suns on 4-year deal that could be worth as much as $120 million.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
Get paid.
all right. Yeah, it's like cool. It's his best shot.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry to
Moving back to
interrupt. Go ahead.
there's a little bit of news out of the boxing, Olympic boxing. There was a French boxer, Morad Aliyev, who is disqualified with 4 seconds left in the second round for headbutting his opponent multiple times.
I heard about that.
Yeah, that'll
And
do it.
what he did is after he got disqualified, he threw a little hissy fit and sat on the side of the ring for over 30 minutes.
Didn't he also throw some stuff at people?
Yeah, he did. I mean,
Like
but,
he threw his mouthpiece at somebody, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like, what,
It's like, yeah, that's a great idea during COVID.
Yeah. Also, like, way to use your
It's
hands,
not a good
dude.
idea in general. It's nasty. Come on.
But especially during COVID.
One
Yeah.
time.
Probably did.
Yeah. That's how COVID spreads, is your spit juices flying in the air. So,
Yeah.
like,
But I think-
you can't have a big glob of it flying in the air with your mouthpiece. That's gross.
That's so disgusting.
It's like,
Gotta
point
be
is,
COVID safe.
in boxing, use your hands in boxing. Don't headbutt people. You know? I feel like that's a fundamental rule.
Oh my goodness.
What is marriage proposals? Who got
So,
married?
Okay, so
Congratulations to
there
them.
have been 3 marriage proposals during the Olympics so far.
wow.
I don't think that's right.
Oh, yeah,
I know about the fencer, but like
There's a fencer. There's also a, I guess, soccer forward.
oh really?
Forward, let's see. Max Kraus of Germany proposed to his girlfriend after a 3-2 win. And then there was also the Chinese diver.
That was in Rio. That was 2016.
Okay, scratch that one. As for the fencer, it's like she had just lost in the first round in her 3rd Olympics, like in a row. So it's like,
Is that really
Get
the
'em while they're
time
weak.
to?
hey, get them while they're weak.
Jesus.
Is that official advice from the
From the married
the
guy,
one
is that?
married person?
Did you run Julia ragged in Italy before you popped the question? Got her defenses down.
Cannot confirm or deny.
Oh, jeez.
Alrighty.
Good lord.
The
Yeah,
wedding was
it's,
great though, so thanks for that.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I got for the. Oh, I guess there is rugby.
Rugby.
Yes. So
Rugby's
rugby
been kind
is
of entertaining.
one of the newest Olympic sports,
Oh, really?
and so which makes sense to me because you're just tackling people. It's like soccer, but you can actually make contact. And people actually get hurt.
And yet they
But,
don't flop and make a big like.
Can't afford
See,
to. It's
in
not
rugby, if you flop, they'll probably like stomp you with their cleats or something.
Albert
But
Hansel
what
stuff.
they do, so the Olympics, they do
Or in Domakong
normally.
style.
Like normally rugby is 14 players, but in the Olympics they do rugby sevens, which is like half a team to kind of speed the games up a little bit.
Oh. Okay.
But let's
Yeah,
see.
rugby's
US
been pretty fun to watch.
And the U.S. actually qualified in men's rugby this year, and
Nice.
probably lost in the quarterfinals to the U.K.
That's okay.
They probably did not have anybody from DeMatha, but they may have had a Gonzaga person on there. I wouldn't be surprised.
Most
Well, that's
likely,
probably
they
why they
are
lost then.
an excellent national program.
There you go.
So before we get to something else, another Woj-bound, Lonzo Ball has agreed to a 4-year, $85 million deal with the Chicago Bulls. So, Big Ballers brand is coming to Chicago, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
Anything else on the Olympics? Any?
No,
So,
not really.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And just to reiterate, so glad Djokovic lost.
Me too.
So glad. No medal for you.
Who would have thought Corey would be saying that 2 years ago at this time?
I know. I used to like him. I used to
Yeah, I
really
used
like
to
him.
like him too, but he's a
And
turd.
then-
He-
Yeah.
he's such a he was always such a mixed bag because he was very polarizing with his antics before, but then he would do something really nice or funny, and it's like,
Like,
hey,
he'd share water with a kid or like hold the kid's umbrella. Like
well, that was
you know,
a ball boy, yeah.
yeah,
And-
ball boy. Like you do those sorts of things. You'd be like, okay, this guy's kind of cool. You
And then
know,
he-
plus he's really good and he's fun to watch. And he and Federer are always in the finals and they make for good matches. And then he turns out to be an anti-vaxxer and a hypocrite.
Yeah. And he hates science. Turns out he hates science.
And he shows his ass on the Olympic stage of all places. Like that, of all the places to button it up,
Like,
that's where you got to do it. I think.
I saw an article that Nadal actually like gave him a little talking to. He's like, "Hey, we're examples for kids, knock it off."
Yes, that is gold medalist Rafael Nadal.
Oh yes, gold medalist Rafael.
Yes, not Novak Djokovic, who was again never won gold or even silver in any Olympic events. So
The ancient Olympics, the athletes would compete naked all the time. So can't be having that either.
times have changed.
Yes, times have changed. Let's see. Our notes are so long, I've lost my place in them. Let's jump to the NFL. So NFL stuff is happening, except for if you're Lamar Jackson, who's not participating in training camp practice because he has caught COVID again and is going to be out at least 10 days. And the 10-day absence is only for unvaccinated players. So I ask Lamar Jackson and everybody under the sound of my voice, Lamar, why aren't you vaccinated yet? What are you doing? You're supposed to be the leader of this team. That means you have to do all the right stuff all the time. You set an example for everybody else. There is no ambiguity about who is the leader of the team in terms of the players in the locker room. This is absurd to me after you had COVID already and apparently had a bad case of it. And I mean, it affected him severely. The first game he comes back, or the second game he's back, he has his incident where he had to, in Cleveland, where he had to leave the game for all but the last 2 minutes. Whatever was wrong with him that night.
Cramps.
I don't know.
Quote.
But, he was saying that was related to having had COVID 2 weeks prior. And, it affects your body some kind of way.
Like, especially your lungs.
Yeah.
You need to have lungs.
You need to be able to breathe in freezing cold Cleveland on Monday Night Football. So, that happened. Lamar had to have watched when the Ravens practice squad went up against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Wednesday afternoon football and forgot how to lose that game. So you mean to tell me that the magical cure for COVID and, you want to win a championship so bad and you're just like, nah, I'm going to pass on this vaccination. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? There is no excuse for this whatsoever.
Asks, Ev, are you upset or nah?
Oh
my God! It's got to be kidding me.
It sounds like Lamar needs a little visit from Irv. Irv had probably the best, from a football player, a former player's perspective of it's like, at this point, aside from just doing the right thing for the public good, don't you want to win? Like this affects your ability to win by not being vaccinated. If you're out for any amount of time during the season, or hell, even in the playoffs, I mean, let's face it, we're not going to be out of this thing in 4 months. So, you got to be available, and you're making yourself less available or more likely to be unavailable by not taking the proper precautions against COVID, which is mainly getting vaccinated. So,
and Lamar Jackson is not the only quarterback in the NFL with this issue. At the Vikings training camp, quarterback Kellen Mond is out with COVID, and Kirk Cousins was labeled a high-risk close contact. And to be clear, the high-risk designation is only for players who are not vaccinated. So not that we're surprised. We knew that Kirk was anti-vax.
Made it clear
but
last year.
This confirms that he is not vaccinated. And Mike Zimmer, God bless him, had one of the greatest quotes. He was answering a question about Jake Browning, who was their only available quarterback at Saturday's practice. And his response was, Jake's really smart. He's vaccinated. That helps to be the backup. So as we move forward here, he's going to get a ton of reps. It's important to be available when you're playing football, a team sport.
Especially when you're the quarterback.
Love it. I love the giving Jake Browning some praise and some credit and everything. I also love the underhanded, just criticism
the not so
the
subtle shade.
Idiot players on his team who are not getting the vaccine.
Yep. I mean,
love it. Love it. A+.
Yeah, chef's kiss for that. And then you got people like Dak who are just like, I think that's HIPAA, like repeating certain moronic
Like,
politicians' views
really?
on things.
You really went there, Dak.
I'm like, Dak, are you making a joke or are you serious? Cause
He didn't then go on to answer the questions, so I think he's serious, which is disturbing,
It's
considering the particular politician that he was echoing.
Yeah, it's a safe bet that if you ask somebody, are you vaccinated, and they don't give you anything but a yes, that they're not. Like this idea of, that's my personal medical information. Like, well, wouldn't you want people to know that you're vaccinated so they feel more comfortable around you because you're significantly less likely to be carrying a deadly infectious disease? Like, come on. Let's be real.
And how would somebody treat you differently in a negative way knowing that you're vaccinated? Unless you're one of those crazy people who thinks that vaccinated people shed, in which case, why would you want to hang out with that person anyway? They're certified nut
Vaccinated
job.
people shed what?
Like they shed the vaccine and it infects unvaccinated people.
Yes,
That's the latest conspiracy
The
theory.
vaccine infects people.
Yeah, that's the latest
with
conspiracy theory.
medicine that helps protect them. Jeez.
This is part of why people in Missouri are hiding from their partners that they're getting vaccinated, because they're married to people who think that they're going to shed on them.
All the more reason that they should kick Mizzou out of the SEC.
I was going to say all the reason not to get married.
Yeah.
He's married into crazy town.
I'll tell you, man, the pandemic has provided a lot of life lessons, and none of them have been life is awesome and the normal stuff you like to do is great. It's all pretty much, you know all this crap you do or you think you should do? Don't do it. It's bad. It's terrible because people suck. That's the only conclusion you can draw, because this situation has just made people be more cynical, and it has given the cynics all the ammunition to stay cynical. So, brutal.
I saw on Twitter today that people have been taking horse deworming medication in an attempt to prevent COVID, which apparently this particular medication is, taken anally, and like people are just dying from horse deworming medication in their butt. So, I don't know where to go with that, but I personally would rather get the vaccine than get horse deworming medicine.
Are we going to Gwyneth Paltrow for medical advice now? My goodness. Oh, God. Where are we going?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Season 4 is off to a great start, by the way.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So the Washington football team is no longer the least vaccinated football team, and they're now over 70%. And I guess they're ahead of the Colts, who are only 65%.
Shaming works. Congratulations, Riverboat Ron.
Shame.
Yeah.
They
shamed the hell out of those idiot players and seem to be getting right.
And to be clear, when we're talking about vaccinated, we're talking about they've received both doses and it's been 2 weeks since they received it. And Washington just, I think yesterday actually, held like a vaccine drive for the players, and supposedly they had a decent turnout. So within the next couple of weeks, hopefully that will go up. Hopefully all the teams' percentages will go up, and everybody will be at that 85% mark where they can start relaxing restrictions. Obviously I hope that every team ends up well above 85%, but we seem to be moving in the right direction.
But the part that bothers me is all the talk about, well, hopefully and maybe and if and, all this kind of stuff. The NFL can mandate that the players all get the vaccine. They've already mandated that all the coaches get it and all the staff.
I don't know why they don't just do that, but
I don't know why they're waiting on these players. I mean, if laws are created because sometimes people don't always make the right decisions all the time.
You gotta love the one player. I forget which guy it was. But he tried to compare like what's going on in practice, where certain like unvaccinated players usually have to wear a wristband that designates that they're unvaccinated, and they get held out of certain drills. He tried to compare it to segregation.
Of course, he's a white guy, so
it's probably it's probably Cole Beasley if I had to guess.
It wasn't Cole Beasley. It was a
Cole
lineman. I
Beasley.
forget
It
which
was
one.
other
But it was
stuff.
definitely an offensive lineman. I just can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Oh, an offensive lineman.
But yeah, very offensive lineman.
Very offensive lineman. What offensive guy? What are you talking about? Okay, like there's got to be some sort of quality control when a thought occurs in your brain, somebody's got to stop it and be like, hey, you shouldn't say this. It's stupid.
Yeah,
That didn't happen.
This is kind of killing my vibe from The Blind Side, the movie, where they said that Michael Orr had like top marks in protective instincts, which made him perfect to be a lineman. Meanwhile, this lineman has absolutely no concept of protecting his teammates from his own
Trying to kill your QB,
germs.
bro.
Yeah, like come on, man. That was always such nonsense in that movie too. It pissed me off so much. Like he sucks at everything, but he's got great protective instincts. I'm like, that has nothing to do with playing football. Football, you hit the crap out of people. Or you're
But
protecting
he
your
saved
quarterback.
him from
Yeah, he stuffed the airbag
Yeah.
from crushing the kid's face. Yeah, that means he's due to be a lineman because linemen do this so much. This is part of the job, reaching your arm out. That's called holding, guys. You can't do that.
It's like those old like Capital One commercials in the early 2000s with Tom Brady. Would go out with his lineman.
Yeah, and they put his arm on his shoulder all the time. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
entertaining. Yes, they're looking out for Tommy.
Yeah, look after Twom.
Speaking of old quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers has reported to Packers camp, and he just let some people have it in his press conference. He really, frankly, we've been bashing these same people all summer long, so it's about time Aaron did it. He was talking about how he named names of a bunch of people who were let go, and he didn't think they should be let go.
Yeah, guys like Jordy Nelson and was it Charles Woodson he mentioned?
He mentioned
Charles
Woodson.
Woodson.
There were a few
Yeah.
others, so
Several
John
others.
Kuhn.
John Kuhn. Yep.
yep.
This is the first. I didn't know he wasn't on the Packers anymore.
He plays for the Saints.
Oh yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just there to be a bowling ball every once in a while.
Yeah.
It's great.
And for people to yell "Coo"
Yes.
from
Yep.
the stands
Yes.
to make us all think they're saying boo.
Yeah.
Except there weren't any people in the stands last season.
That's true.
So
That's right.
that little detail. So the Packers general manager has officially announced that he's incompetent because he was like, we traded for Randall Cobb because Aaron Rodgers wanted us to. I'm like, well, now you can't just be flip-flopping back and forth, right? If you're supposed to be in charge, then you make the decisions, and you don't care what Aaron Rodgers says, right?
And if you care what
But
Aaron
that's
Rodgers
been-
says, then why have you not why has this relationship gotten so sour?
Right. If you care what Aaron Rodgers says and thinks, maybe you shouldn't have drafted his replacement who sucks. That little thing happened. We were covering that live on this show 2 years ago. But like, what are the Packers doing? They can't seem to get out of their own way. They seem to be suddenly a very poorly run organization. Maybe
So
they're
they'll
like
go
the
14
Colts.
and 2 this year. Because this is basically what was going on last year. We thought, okay, well, the Packers are going to suck this year, and Eric and I didn't even put them in the playoffs.
Most people
I didn't put
have
him in
the
either.
playoffs. Yeah,
Somebody
it wasn't
picked
just
the
us.
Lions to win that division last year.
Was that me or
It
Eric?
was,
I don't
it was
remember.
me. It was me. I had them as like
think
a
I picked
9-7
the Vikings.
winner or some crap.
I think I picked the Vikings.
That
I think I
was
had the
that was
Vikings
not
as well.
great. That was not great.
Well, maybe this year, Aaron Rodgers will go on and win another Super Bowl out of spite.
I think that
Despite
could
the
happen.
organization.
I almost, don't want that to happen though, because Green Bay doesn't deserve it.
Right.
Like,
No,
I-
they
know,
don't.
I hope he gets the MVP again.
Sure,
I'd
what
be
he
okay
could
with
do
that.
is in his speech.
I think I
he
hope
could
he has a
say-
good year. Yeah, I don't really care if he wins awards. I just hope he goes out there and he plays as well as we were accustomed to seeing him play, which is at an extremely high level.
And then he comes to Washington.
Ha!
I mean, yeah, if that happened, I
Like
would
Vince
lose my
Lombardi
mind. But
something?
yeah,
He ends his career with Washington.
The
So, yeah,
Washington, whatever their names will be.
The best
Yeah.
thing that
The
Rodgers
Guardians.
said was when he let the people know, yeah, ain't nobody coming to Green Bay because they like Green Bay. Like, basically, your town
Because
sucks.
of me.
Nobody wants to be here. You got no beaches to go to. It's not a vacation spot.
They're
coming
here 'cause of me.
me. I'm the only reason people come here because they think they can win a Super Bowl by coming here. So y'all show me a little more respect. I mean,
it.
Brian Gutekunst was a scout when Aaron Rodgers was winning the Super Bowl in the 2010 season, which means he was the bottom rung on the ladder. Why the hell does a former scout have more say and more influence with the Packers than the damn Hall of Fame quarterback that's the only reason your organization isn't just a poverty franchise like the Oakland Raiders or the Vegas Raiders now? Like, because that's who the Packers would be. The Packers have proven that if they don't have a generational talent at quarterback, they stink. And that's what they were when they lost Bart Starr. They were trash for 25 years. They got Brett Favre. Then they got Aaron Rodgers, who fell into their laps. They've been crap without that quarterback.
I don't want to like crap on scouts though, because like a scout is to an Amazon like worker as the GM is to Jeff Bezos.
I'm not saying that
Like, the scouts are pretty darn important.
the scouts are important. They play a role. They don't play as important of a role as the Hall of Fame quarterback. And the fact that he's reached that level as a GM, I'll give him his props. He's clearly climbed the ladder at the organization, but the only reason he's been able to climb the ladder is because Aaron Rodgers has been great. If Rodgers was terrible and the Packers went to the toilet, they would have cleaned house and his ass would have been fired. He never would have sniffed a GM job.
Absolutely.
I will say though, part of being a GM is like, I mean, you're not only just managing, you can't handle the players like chess pieces. You can't just swap people in and out. You have to have a bit of the human connection, and I feel like this Brian Gutekunst seems to have missed that. Like he's just getting rid of people willy-nilly because I can do better than that. But like, there's more to it than that. There's more subtlety to the position. And you can't just get rid of people and expect them not to be upset about it. So yeah, the Packers, they should have fired this guy. Like you can't irritate the franchise quarterback. Like you just can't do that. Like you have to, if there's any player who should have say in how the roster is constructed, it should be that guy. Right. I feel like the Packers are kind of like the Colts. Remember I think it was 2010, maybe 11. It was 11. Yeah, the year Peyton Manning was injured. How they had the same roster minus Peyton Manning, and they go 2-14. And then they get Andrew Luck, and they go back to the playoffs right after that.
It's almost like having a good quarterback matters.
Yeah, almost like having a good quarterback matters.
Almost.
But what also matters is having a quality team around him. That doesn't get him killed, for example. The Colts, right? Let's see, where are we in this thing? Speaking of Colts quarterbacks, Carson Wentz is hurt again. He needed foot surgery. He's going to be out 5 to 12 weeks.
It's a really wide range. Normally, NFL player injuries,
6 to 8.
We'll have a much smaller window.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is like a cable guy window coming,
Often injured quarterback gets injured again.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
no.
when he was traded from the Eagles received, I think, like a 5th-round pick and a 2nd-round pick that can become a 1st-round pick if Carson Wentz either plays 75% of the Colts snaps or he plays 70% and the Colts make the playoffs. So this is essentially the first time.
That's a 2nd-round pick.
So it's going to be a 2nd-round pick, and this will be the first time that Carson Wentz getting hurt actually hurts the Eagles.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Normally, it's
like
very helpful to them to get him off the field.
Right. Yeah, they go straight to the Super Bowl and win with anatomically gifted Nicholas. And then last year when they tanked that game, I think it was against Washington or against the Giants.
It was against Washington.
Dallas.
Yeah, it was against Washington.
Yeah,
They
it's like
tanked that game. Wentz is out. The other guy is out. They bring in somebody else off the street, and he can't play. So, they move up in the draft.
Yep.
So, unfortunately for the Eagles, they're moving down in the draft now. Devontae Smith has suffered a minor, in air quotes, MCL injury. He's expected to miss a couple weeks. The Eagles drafted him, right?
Yes, they did. Yep.
Okay. Well, certainly wishing him the best.
They drafted him the year after they drafted Jalen Reagor, who did absolutely nothing for him last year. So,
I could have told you that.
Yeah, I mean the Eagles have not had the best record drafting receivers. So I mean Devontae Smith, we hoped the best because he was terrific in college, but
they also haven't exactly had a guy to get the ball to them.
They still don't have that though. I mean Jalen Hurts isn't that good. Like what are we talking about?
Yeah. But I could have told you Reagor couldn't play. Shouldn't they have? I mean, didn't they pick Reagor ahead of Justin Jefferson?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
You can go through a lot of picks the last couple of drafts where certain individuals got picked. I think like N'Keal Harry, the Patriots drafted him over Terry McLaurin, over DK Metcalf, over I think Chase Claypool maybe, or Deontay Johnson, one of those
I think
two.
it was Deontay Johnson.
Because Claypool was a rookie
last year. Yep.
Yeah, so there's always like a group of receivers where you're like,
But
what were
Deebo
y'all
Samuel.
doing? Yeah, Deebo Samuel, Mecole Hardman, all of whom have been better than N'Keal Harry has been.
N'Keal Harry. I remember people were irritated that the Patriots got him. Like, oh, this guy, he's going to light up the league. He's on the Patriots. That didn't happen.
No, it didn't.
The Patriots also drafted, I think, DeAndre Swift ahead of Lamar Jackson.
No, DeAndre Swift was with the Lions.
Yeah, the Lions.
Oh, well, they drafted some other running back out of UGA then.
Oh, it was Sony Michel.
Yeah.
Sony Michel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought for sure the Patriots were going to draft Lamar, and then Brady was going to just play in front of him for a year, and then it would be the Lamar show, which would have made people distraught. Like just the idea of Bill Belichick being able to groom Lamar Jackson for a year behind Tom Brady, and then just unleash him on the league.
Yeah. Let's see. Who was Jordan Hicks is seeking a trade from the Cardinals after he was being told he can't compete for a starting job. Who was Jordan Hicks?
Jordan Hicks has been their starting inside linebacker for every game of the last 2 seasons. And he was told after they drafted Zaven Collins 16th overall that they're not even going to let him compete for a starting job. So he's requesting a trade. So the reason I put this in here wasn't so much to talk about Jordan Hicks, because Eric gave the look like, who the hell is Jordan Hicks, and which is understandable. Like, this is a middle linebacker for a team that's not that great, that doesn't have a great defense. Certainly
they're going
not
to be
a
in
great
last place
linebacking
again.
core over the past couple of years. But I bring this up more to ask the question of you guys, your thoughts on a player just outright being told, yeah, we're not even going to let you compete for a starting job.
I mean, it seems kind of silly. It feels like there should always be a competition for spots. It's just typically it's a formality because you know who the better player is. But it reminds me a little bit of when Baker Mayfield got drafted and Hugh Jackson straight up said, I don't care how good Baker Mayfield is. Tyrod Taylor's a starting quarterback, and he didn't even let Baker get first-team reps, even though he's the number 1 overall pick. Where it's like, no, if you think – obviously you've got a pecking order in practice, and you have to be the most efficient with your reps.
Sure.
And so if you think somebody's clearly the number 1, you play him as the number 1. But if somebody's showing you something with the number 2s, throw them in there and give them some reps with the number 1s too. Or if somebody's showing you something in the wrong direction with the number 1, say, okay, we're going to let this guy get some reps in here too.
Not to mention, you want to give, backups a little bit of opportunity just in case the starter gets hurt at some point. You want for the backup to have a little bit of a rapport, a little bit of an understanding of how to work within that offense or that defensive unit. I mean, we're talking about a situation where, the Cardinals run a 3-4 defense, and they've got 2 inside linebackers who've been drafted in the first round of the past 2 years, Isaiah Simmons and now Zaven Collins. So it's understandable that they would like to have these 2 guys as their starters, but we're talking about a guy who has been their starter for the last 2 years, who has an understanding of the scheme that they want to run on defense, who has experience, and you're not even going to let him go out. Like, if he's better than Zaven Collins right now, he should probably be the starter. We're talking about defense here where players are routinely, subbed in and out all the time for fresh legs. So why do you not want for this guy to have an opportunity to go out there and get first team reps, compete for the starting job? If he loses out, he'll still get some playing time, and he'll be given the respect of having been given that opportunity to compete. Like he said this week that he respects that he was told up front, right? And he respects that they're going to try to honor his trade request. But at the same time, like, you want that opportunity to compete as a guy in the league who has been a starter for – he didn't miss a single game. He started 32 games in the last 2 seasons for the Cardinals.
Yeah, so, I mean, I also just think that it sends the wrong message when you're telling somebody effectively you're the starter point blank. I mean, Again, now I'm going to harken back to my torturous days as a Mariners fan when the Seattle Mariners acquired one Eric Bedard from the Baltimore Orioles for the future franchise
3 All-Stars.
player. Yeah, 3 All-Stars. One Adam Jones was one of them. Jesus. But anyway, the manager at the time, John McLaren, came into camp and he said the first day of spring training, Eric Bedard's the starter for opening day, even though Felix Hernandez was on the team and he had started the previous opening day and was the team's best pitcher.
Even though Felix Hernandez is on the team. What?
Yes. That was the thing.
This guy should have been fired on the spot.
Yes, so of course, Felix had every right to compete for the opening day slot because he's Felix Hernandez. He's 21 years old at the time. He was, coming into his own as a pitcher, and he basically said, "Nah, the new guy is going to start, even though you've been here for the last few years and you've been great." And so what happened? Well, I can't say for sure that this is why Eric Bedard was complacent and seemingly didn't give a crap, but it certainly didn't help. And it sent the wrong message to it basically said, okay, Bedard, your job is safe. You've got a guaranteed slot opening day. You're not competing with Felix Hernandez. Competing with Felix Hernandez is not an easy thing to do. That might have actually put a little fire behind him, but nope. Instead, we just got 5 innings, Eric Bedard. Once I'm at 100 pitches, if you ask me to throw one more, my arm's going to fall off, and I'm going to be a jerk and go sit down. So it sends the wrong message. I don't like it at all. Especially with rookies who are just coming in. It's like, hey, here's a free starting job. Again, it's understandable if you go to a guy and say, look, we're in a situation where we've got these 2 young guys, and we're probably going to prioritize getting them on the field. And so we want you to be aware of that. But to straight up tell a guy, you're not starting no matter what, it violates the spirit of competition. And that's not something any football team or any team for any team sport needs, is to just straight up ignore competition within the team.
This John McLaren guy managed the Mariners from July 1st, 2007 to June 19th, 2008.
Yes. Mike Hargrove spontaneously retired in the middle of the 2007 season when the Mariners were actually pretty good. And then McLaren took over as the interim manager, and then they just kept him on, and he was awful, and needless to say, he didn't last very long.
Apparently he went to Blinn College.
I don't know what that means.
That's where Cam Newton spent a year.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Florida and
that was
Auburn.
his JUCO. Yeah.
So yeah, that guy seems a bit of a clown. Back to the point. This is just, football's supposed to be a meritocracy, right? This is what the football people say. Like, the best players should play. So everybody on the team needs to earn their spot on the team, if you ask me. I think this is bad coaching at a very basic level as well. Like, high school coaches know not to just anoint somebody the starter if they haven't earned it. Especially some rookie like, oh, you're just the starter now. That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm reminded of Dak Prescott and Tony Romo, that situation, when Tony Romo got injured and then came back, and they're like, you know what, Dak's still the starter. I'm reminded of Russell Wilson and Matt Flynn. Remember him? The not the Mariners,
Packers.
the Seahawks.
Yes.
The Packers, or the
He was the
Seahawks
Packers
paid him
backup,
a whole
yeah.
bunch of money to be the starter, and then some third-round pick rookie just shows up, and the rest is history. We never hear from Matt Flynn again. I'm also reminded of Justin Tucker and Billy Cundiff. Billy Cundiff, he won Shankopotamus, but he was also the Pro Bowl kicker for the AFC that season. And then there's an undrafted rookie comes and takes his job. That's the end of Billy Cundiff. So, the best players should play, and everybody needs to earn their spot on the team. This doesn't make any sense to me.
Of course, the most famous incident of one Tom Brady replacing Drew Bledsoe. Like, Drew Bledsoe was healthy and could have returned, and they said, no, this guy is playing better than you.
Play the hot hand.
Yeah. So
That happened to Drew Bledsoe twice.
Yeah.
Yes, it happened with Romo as well.
Yeah.
It's a tough
Yeah,
break.
somebody's got to be the replacement guy.
It's tough. 'Cause Drew Bledsoe was a good player, too. It wasn't like he was a
He
bum.
was,
good
yeah. No,
player.
he signed. What was it on the Patriots? He signed that $100 million contract with them,
Yep, I think it was the first $100 million deal in the NFL
Yep.
history.
and then he got hurt. End of the first year, end of the second year, something like that.
Week 2.
Ooh,
Week 2.
Oh, my God.
ouch.
Okay. Let's see. Michael Thomas, receiver for the Saints, is out for the foreseeable future after having surgery on his ankle in June. Eric, what exactly what do you think of this as our Saints fan on here?
I'm a little bit torn here because I'm frustrated because Michael Thomas's ankle was injured when the season ended in January for the Saints, and so seemingly he should have had this taken care of back then so that he would be ready to go for training camp. But on the other hand, I also understand that athletes don't like to do surgery unless it's absolutely necessary, and there was some belief that his ankle could heal with rest and, non-surgical options to get back to 100% health. And I guess in June, they realized it wasn't happening.
Did it really take 5 months, though, to figure out that it wasn't getting better?
I'm not a medical expert. I don't know. I'm irritated because the way the Saints have handled this injury since it happened early in the 2020 season has been nothing short of poor. Like, we didn't really know what was going on with him then. He missed a ton of time during the season. He never was 100% when he came back. And then we find out, he's going to have, because I read surgery for Michael Thomas in the offseason, like 2 days after the Saints got eliminated by the Buccaneers. I was like, well, that explains a lot. He was not himself. So I figured, okay, he's going to go get surgery. He's going to be back next year. Then I read, he had surgery in June. He's going to miss a while. He might miss the first 6 weeks of the season. I'm like, well, this is not what we need. We've got a new quarterback in Jameis Winston, who's probably going to get a good chunk of the snaps. And we've got Taysom Hill, Taysom Hill. I need Michael Thomas on the field.
So the reason I asked, because neither of us are medical experts, you're right. But when the Carson Wentz news first broke about his foot injury, before they decided to do surgery, initially their plan was that they were going to put him on a program for the next 1 week or 2 weeks to see if it was something that might fix itself. And if it didn't look like it was, then he'd do surgery. Now,
Sure.
if that had happened, he'd still needed surgery. That would postpone his return by another couple of weeks. But supposedly they felt like they would be able to make that assessment in that short amount of time. So one would think that the same would hold true for Michael Thomas, that they could have put him on something, and after a month assessed it and said, yeah, this is not really progressing. Surgery is probably going to be, the way to go.
And the question is, do you give Michael Thomas the benefit of the doubt? And some people are inclined not to because he had some issues with Sean Payton with the Saints organization seemingly last year. He got kicked out of practice, got suspended for a game. But we also don't really know what his injury status was when he was missing that time too. So It's hard to really say. But, Michael Thomas also fairly recently signed a 5-year extension, so he's got his money. I hope this isn't a situation like Shaquille O'Neal famously. He went the whole summer without having surgery, even though he knew he had to, because he straight up said, "I got injured on company time. I'll heal on company time." But you can get away with that in basketball, because basketball, if you miss half the season, you've got a ton of opportunity to get into the postseason. There's 8 spots out of 15 in your conference, and you also had Kobe Bryant and a good team. You were going to be in the playoffs. The Saints' chances of making the playoffs very much take a huge hit if Michael Thomas misses a third of the season. And that's what looks like is very possible, especially given the fact that the quarterback situation ain't Drew Brees anymore. This is not future Hall of Famer playing quarterback. This is Jameis Winston, who is talented, but he's also a pick machine. He's got a history of being erratic at the position. And he's
also a fumble machine,
yes,
in addition to being a pick machine.
Yes, and so the benefit of the doubt for Jameis Winston was he was talented, and now he's being put in a better situation with a more suitable coach to help sort of work around some of his flaws instead of enhance them like Bruce Arians, because Bruce Arians is a great coach, but he's a no-risk-it, no-biscuit guy, which is not a good combination with Jameis Winston, who is the most reckless quarterback in the sport, whereas Sean Payton could maybe reel him in a little bit. But it's so much harder for him to have that get-off season where he returns to some level of prominence if he doesn't have his best receiver, because the Saints don't exactly have a ton of depth at the position. I mean, we've complained.
Ted Ginn just retired.
Yes.
So.
I mean, I think Emmanuel Sanders is still there, but he's getting up there in age. He's not really a number one receiver. It's pretty much going to be, all right, Jameis, flip it to Alvin Kamara and make him do everything.
Traquan Smith.
Which is great because Kamara's amazing, but not exactly how you build a complete offense.
I mean, the Saints are in a world of trouble in terms of their playoff possibility. Like, the defending Super Bowl champions are in their division and on the schedule twice.
Yep.
The Saints smoked the Buccaneers twice last year and lost a close one in the playoffs, but, it's 2021 now. Times have changed. The Buccaneers changed quarterbacks and won the Super Bowl. So, and now the quarterback that they got rid of is on the Saints.
Yeah, I think that I thought that the Saints had an outside shot of still being a postseason team this year because I think that Jameis Winston can have a bounce back year. But like I said, those prospects take a huge hit if Michael Thomas can't suit up, but for maybe 11 games. Like that's not going to cut it.
Yeah. Well, I think winning the division is out of the question.
I agree. No, the Bucs have the division. But there's 3 wild card spots now.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's a deeper playoff field, and the Saints still have a ton of talent. They could have had a shot. They still do, I think, but the chances take a big hit. It's going to be a lot harder now.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. The Hall of Fame game is this week. I know it might have snuck up on some people. It is the first week of August.
It even snuck up on me.
Yeah.
Can't sneak
I meant
up
to
on
look
it
up
if I don't care.
what channel is the Hall of Fame game on? Is it on NBC?
Probably NBC.
Okay. Well, it's this week, Thursday, August 5th at 8 o'clock, probably on NBC. But the Olympics are on as well. So,
True. So maybe it'll be like NFL Network.
yeah, I imagine it'll be on NFL Network. Check your local listings, as people used to say.
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay.
Let's see.
Yeah, so I'm going to go through. I'm not going to list off the whole class of 2020. There's a lot of people on here.
It'll be on Fox.
It's on Fox?
Yep.
Ooh, okay. So Isaac Bruce is getting in. Bill Cowher, Edgerrin James, Jimmy Johnson, Troy Polamalu, Steve Sable, Paul Tagliabue. Those are the people
You
I've
left off
heard
some
of.
pretty big names. Steve Atwater, Alex
Speedy.
Karras.
Alex Karras is. But yeah, there's a long list of people in the class of 2020. Obviously, 2020 happened last year, and a whole bunch of stuff got canceled, including the 2020 Hall of Fame induction. Let's see. And then there's also a class of 2021 that's getting in. Read the whole thing. This is everybody. Alan Faneca, Tom Flores, Calvin Johnson, John Lynch, Peyton Manning, Bill Nunn, Drew Pearson, and Charles Woodson. So congratulations to all of them. Hopefully nobody sweats through their gold jacket and turns a tan like Ray Lewis was talking for.
Well, we went out there and had a sermon, and he just got a little too heated. God, that was tough to watch.
Yeah,
Well-
Ray was worked up in case that was a surprise.
So basically, Ray was Ray.
Yeah, I'd say, so what's the problem?
It's going to be a lot of speeches to watch this week. And I'm glad that next week we're going to be doing our show on Wednesday with Evan here in person, because I'm probably going to need that amount of time to get through all these speeches before our show.
Oh, I'm not going to watch all of them.
Oh, I'm going to
Sure.
watch all of them.
Watch.
Oh, do we not have
Some
softball
of
next
the
week?
best quotes come from the players that you don't even expect to give great quotes.
Oh, okay. I don't know who Ed Sprinkle is, for example.
I don't know who that
There's
is
also
either.
Max
So he's
Speedy.
probably going to give us a dope proverb or something.
Yeah. Peyton Manning was on Pardon My Take this morning, and he was about a 20-minute interview, and just one anecdote is he's getting tired of all these quarterbacks not starting, at the start of the year, or like into a situation where they get pulled out if they struggle, because he really needs somebody to break his rookie record for interceptions, and it's never going to happen if they don't let these guys just play right away and let them do the whole 16 or 17 now.
17 now. I mean, that
So
record
there's a
is.
chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jameis could throw 40 and 40.
He's not a
Yeah.
rookie though.
He's not a rookie,
not a
though.
rookie.
No, but he could still throw 40 and 40.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, has anybody ever thrown 40 interceptions?
I don't think so. I don't think.
Let's
Maybe
see.
maybe when we expand to 18 games next season.
Yeah.
God.
That's a lot of
that's
Let's go here.
terrifying.
What's the interception
To be
in a
clear, that has not been confirmed or anything, but the belief is that within the next few years, it will expand to
Go
18.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll be, one. That's yet another week of our friend Scott
season?
Hansen.
Woo!
That's
All right.
true.
George Blanda threw 42 interceptions in 1962.
Nice.
Wow.
42
They didn't even
pickies.
How many
Pass that
touchdowns did he throw in 1962?
That's a good question.
Probably not that many.
Let's see. The next one on the list was Vinny Testaverde with 35 in 1988.
That's cool, but that didn't answer my question.
Yeah.
I know. Hang on.
Come on, Reali. I need better stat boy from you.
All right, hang on.
Why did we bring you on the show?
Exactly. All right, he threw 27 touchdowns that season.
Oof. Yeah,
Not a
so
great
not the
ratio.
33rd.
42. But I mean, it was the 60s, so that's still a pretty good season in the 60s.
I'm gonna.
I don't know about 27-42. 27 touchdowns is good for the 60s, but 42
I'm gonna
interceptions
need
were
to
pretty
see
bad
the.
even
I'm
back
gonna need
then.
to see the Anya plus, or at least the passer rating plus, to get an idea of what we're talking about to scale here. But yeah.
And that was only in 14 games, right?
That was
12.
That would have been 12.
14
12.
games, yeah.
Or 14?
Was it 14 then?
Yeah, it was 14-game season.
Wow,
Oh, that's
Jeez.
3 picks a
Wow.
week.
that's
Yeah.
tough. Like, what do you? And George Bland is in the Hall of Fame.
He is.
Yeah.
He's a good player.
Yeah, that's tough.
All right.
Oh my god, wasn't he a defensive back too?
Yeah, he also played
At the same
defense.
time?
And, yeah, he was
Yeah.
kind of a Swiss Army knife type of player.
It's like semi-ball, but not as good.
Not even close to as good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting into that. Okay, so I think we've covered everything except baseball. Is that correct?
Yeah, let's get to the boring stuff.
Yeah, let's get to the boring stuff.
Save the
Old
worst for
guys
last.
and us
No,
watch
just kidding.
baseball. We'll start with the Orioles because I'm hosting. So the Orioles, are on absolute fire for the Orioles. They've won 7 out of their 12 games since our last show, including a home sweep of the Nationals, which was just glorious.
It's always fun.
I witnessed one of those games. It was great.
Yeah.
Seeing the sad little Nats fans
Yeah.
trickle out of the stadium.
Right. That ended the Nationals season. They're just done. Everybody, we'll get to shortly, is now on the Dodgers. They're all gone because they sucked against the Orioles. That's too bad. You're fired.
Yeah, it's kind of like losing to Kansas in the Big 12. It's just like once that happens, it's time. You got to pull the
Done.
plug.
Time to blow it
Like
up.
Charlie Strong. It's just like you lost to Kansas, dude. Time to go.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. So that the Orioles come all the way back and they're in a split in this year's Battle of the Beltways / Masson Cup because the Orioles were on the business end of a sweep a couple months ago in D.C. But the Orioles are supposed to be bad. The Nationals won the World Series 2 years ago. And now they're getting rid of all their players. So good for the Orioles. They're looking like a competent baseball team sometimes, which is pretty good. I'll take it. 7 out of 12 is a decent sample size to me, where it's like, oh, we're playing some good ball here. They traded Sean Armstrong to the Rays for Cash, not Kevin Cash. Sean Armstrong is a relevant guy, so he's gone. The Orioles have also traded Freddie Galvis to the Phillies for right-handed pitcher Tyler Birch. That concludes the Orioles' trade deadline moves. Really wasn't anybody, wasn't anything that happened for the Orioles major at the trade deadline. Trey Mancini, Cedric Mullins, John Means, Anthony Santander, Tanner Scott, Paul Fry, all still with the Orioles after the deadline. Those were the people who were most likely to be traded. None of them got traded. Orioles have signed all 21 of their draft picks. Teams don't usually sign all of the draft picks.
know
They
the
usually
Mets
sign
didn't.
most.
Yeah, and Colton
you just
Cowser hit a home run today.
Yeah, Colton Cowser had a home run down in Florida Coast League. Florida Complex League. Used to be Gulf Coast League.
Good for him.
Florida. Yeah. So tonight they begin a 3-game set at Yankee Stadium. So, cover my eyes for that. That's not going to go well.
No.
And then they host the Rays for the first place Rays for 3 games starting Friday. So hopefully the Orioles win one of these games this coming week. So, Corey, what do you have on the Yankees? It's empty on here.
Yeah, because I'm just going to talk off the top of my head because this is not going to take me very long. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, I've been pretty much glued to the Olympics. It's been on my TV. I usually fall asleep with it on and wake up with it on and go to practice and come back to it on. So I have not really been watching the Yankees. I've barely been paying attention to my fantasy lineup, which may be why I finally had a game where I dropped below 100 points. That and every pitcher I picked up sucked. So what I do, I went and picked up 2 pitchers today to start today.
Gotta stay on the narcotic, baby. Gotta chase those points.
If at first you don't succeed, try again, and continue to fail probably. But it might be for the best that I haven't been watching, because since I haven't been, the Yankees have won 10 of 15 since the All-Star break, so they're playing pretty decently. It was a wild trade deadline, and within all that movement, the Yankees got Joey Gallo, who they're super excited to have, but he hasn't done jack for us since he got to New York. We also got Anthony Rizzo, though, and that was pretty cool because Anthony Rizzo homered in each of his first 2 games with the Yankees. And in fact, Anthony Rizzo combined with Javier Baez and Chris Bryant to become the first trio of players to start a season with the same team, get traded in the same season, and hit a home run in their first game with the new team.
That's a Kirkchin stat. Yeah.
It's hard to imagine that happening ever. Like, that's a lot of specific things that all need to happen all in a row to 3 people.
That's why it's a Kirkchin stat.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
Yeah, obviously that's
what was the name
happened
of the
before.
player who used to do the Kirkchin impression? I think he played
Tim
for
Dillard.
Dillard.
And JP Aaron Sebia did a really
Oh
good
yes,
one too.
Aaron Sebia. He did the best one.
Yeah,
Dillard did a pretty good one, but Aaron Sebia did the best one. That was fun. That was back like when we were still in college or just out of it. Those were good times.
Yep.
But yeah, so we got Anthony Rizzo, and that's worked out pretty well. One of the guys that I picked up to start at pitcher today is what is his first name? It's something Heaney.
Andrew Heaney.
Yeah, Andrew Heaney. He was with the Mariners, and the Yankees acquired him, and he's playing today. He's pitching well so far. Knock on wood that continues against the Orioles. It is against the Orioles, so it should continue. And then
we've scored more runs than the Yankees had this year.
That's true.
Which doesn't make any sense to me.
And then he gets to play against his former team on Saturday, against the Mariners. So the other guy that I picked up today is currently at negative 1.5, though. So
jeez, Corey, you're gonna play yourself.
He has a 27 ERA today.
Please do this in the post when I have to play you potentially in the first round. Just pick up a bunch of scrubs.
To be clear, if I win this week, I will clinch my division. So my team is good. I'm just, crapping the bed.
Not a
at pitcher
particularly
right
good
now.
manager lately.
No, I've been busy watching the Olympics.
As someone who's leading our league in ERA, I can also clinch my division with a win.
Yes, you
my
can.
division is much worse than your division.
Yes, it is.
Not gonna. Is Sean in my division?
Yes.
Or is he in y'all's division?
Sean and Alex are in your division.
And Drew.
But Drew is essentially tied with Eric at 8 and 7.
Yeah, even though I've scored a gajillion more points than him.
Eric is leading the league in points. He has 10 more points than I do on the season.
And you're barely in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm 8 and 7. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the playoffs on a tiebreaker right now. On the head-to-head with Drew.
I'm glad I beat Drew both times because this would have been really annoying.
I think you still have to play him one more time.
Okay.
Drew took a devastating loss this week, because he's on the brink of division elimination, and he's now tied with Eric for the last playoff spot.
Yeah,
but again, Eric has the head-to-head, so Drew is out of the playoffs as it stands today.
Well, but Drew was in before yesterday.
Yes, he was. And then
thanks to Eric having a terrible week last week.
I phoned it in last week. I just wasn't into it. Post All-Star break, Acuna was hurt. All my guys were hurt. I was just like, yeah, whatever. I'm gonna lose.
I'm glad that you worked hard against Drew and not me. I appreciate that.
Winning against Drew was more important. It was more essential for my playoff viability.
Yeah.
Fair
enough. Hopefully our teams continue to eat W's, particularly my team.
Unlike the Washington Nationals, even though what is their manager's name? Why am I Dave Martinez?
Davey Martinez.
Yeah, Davey Martinez today came out and said that he hates losing and they're going to continue to compete. And he's seen teams come back from being down 11 games at this point in the season. I'm like, dude, you just traded 2 of your best players.
Yeah.
They traded 5 of their best players.
They traded 5 of their best players, but they traded Max Scherzer and Trey Turner to the Dodgers. And you're here talking about, we still got a chance. No, you don't. You literally made sure you don't have any chance.
Yeah, they
You
traded,
The
got
only good
swept
player
by
you
the
kept was
Orioles.
Juan Soto.
yeah, they traded 5 out of their 6 top war leaders this year. The only one left is Soto. So, yeah, there's that. Steven Strasburg ain't walking through that door. He's hurt
out
again.
for the year.
Yep,
Yeah.
he's done.
Yeah, he's gone. Scherzer's gone. Turner's gone.
Schwarber's gone.
Schwarber's gone. These are the only people on their team who can hit the ball. They're all out the door.
Yep.
So
They still got
You know,
Josh
you
Harrison.
you can't win very many games
The
if you
second
score
baseman.
0
He's
runs
okay.
a night.
He's okay for stretches.
Okay, whatever.
So
Yeah. Well, once he's done stretching and they actually play the actual games, I have low expectations. So the Nationals, they won the championship 2 years ago. Now they can just forget it. It's over. I mean, it's over. That's the honest truth.
all
That's
she
the
wrote.
facts in front of me. It's over. All the guys are gone. There's nobody left. So now they got some stud prospects from the Dodgers for Scherzer and Trey Turner. So
They desperately needed him. They had the worst farm system in baseball before the trade deadline.
yeah. So they're now in year 0 of their rebuild.
Yep.
So Beltway baseball is going to be ugly once again. No good teams going back and forth. for
Feels
at
like
least a couple-
2009 all over again.
Yes, or 2007.
Yes, that too.
Yeah, 2 particularly terrible teams that year. Let's see. The Cubs also demolished their team. Corey mentioned that Anthony Rizzo is now on the Yankees, but they also got rid of Chris Bryant. He's with the Giants. They got rid of Javier Baez. He's on the Mets. And we also mentioned Kyle Schwarber, who used to be on the Cubs, went to Washington. Now he's on the Red Sox. So Cubs fans are sad too. They also won a championship recently. Like, if ever there was a team and a franchise that could coast on their one championship, it would be the Chicago Cubs, who hadn't won in 108 years.
I thought Schwarber was with the Nats.
He was, but he was with the Cubs before that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But it's funny because it was interesting watching PTI, as Tony Kornheiser is a big Nats fan and Wilbon's a big Cubs fan, and they're just sitting there being miserable together as their teams are getting blown up.
Meanwhile, I don't feel bad for them in the least bit.
No,
but
both
having
of them got
watched
to see
the
a
Orioles
World
my
Series run.
entire life, who never win anything ever.
Oh yeah, another
it's like,
Cub.
oh!
Craig Kimbrell. He went across town to the White Sox.
That's right. Yep.
I mean, he doesn't even have to change which subway line he gets on. They're both on the red line. He just goes south instead of north.
Doesn't need a new apartment. Doesn't need anything like that.
Yeah.
He's good.
Also, the White Sox stadium is much closer to downtown than Wrigley Field is. Wrigley Field is way, way north. Anyway, more unfortunate news. Fernando Tatis Jr. has re-injured his shoulder. He's on the 10-day injured list. So hopefully he comes back soon. Someone else I'm hoping comes back soon. Jacob deGrom on my fantasy team. Now out until September. I don't know when our fantasy season ends, but hopefully deGrom comes back before that. The Mets continue to be a colossal disappointment, as we'll get to in a minute. So I have doubts as to whether the Mets can hold on to their division. Like, somebody has to win this division by default. Sounds like the NFC East rather than the National League East. So somebody's going to win just by accident at this point, because the Mets are disappointing, the Phillies are disappointing, the Nationals are strewn all over the country, and the Marlins are the Marlins.
Yeah, and the Braves are the Braves. So,
yeah, and the Braves, I mean, they added people at the deadline.
The Braves have by far and away the best run differential in the NL East. They've got a plus 49, and they're sitting 4 games back of the Mets. Everybody else in the division has a negative run differential.
Oh, jeez. The Mets are toast then.
Yeah, I think. See, the thing is, it's tough to believe that the Braves are really in it, because you figure you lose Acuna, that's probably going to cost them their season.
But they've got a lot of other good players on their team.
But the fact that they were struggling with Acuna, and you figure you lose him, all the air would go out of the balloon. But when you got a crummy division that's still winnable, you can go win it.
Yeah. So I mean, they could be hosting some playoff games. The Toronto Blue Jays last Friday have resumed playing games in Toronto.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I completely missed that news.
Yep.
Yeah. So they've been playing in Buffalo. They've been playing in their spring training facility in Dunedin, Florida. But they're back to being the Toronto Blue Jays. So good for them.
Yep.
They had to leave Canada because of the pandemic. Not the only team that had to leave Canada. I think the Toronto Raptors played in Tampa this past season.
So
Yes.
is Canada allowing travel back and forth now, or did they make an exception for the Blue Jays?
I think they made an exception, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not booking a trip to Canada anytime soon, I'll tell you that. All of us unwashed Americans with our unvaccinated, neighbors can't have that. And then the last thing on the list, Kumar Rocker. The Mets picked him 10th overall out of Vanderbilt. He's a right-handed pitcher. The Mets
had a great
have failed
season for Vanderbilt.
Yeah, he had another great year for Vanderbilt. The Mets have failed to sign him, and Kumar Rocker just drifts away into the abyss for a year until next year's spring.
They cited an issue with his physical.
Yeah, something with his elbow, and Rocker was he slipped in the draft, perhaps not because of his elbow, but because his agent is Scott Boras, and Rocker was I guess demanding a big signing bonus. So that's why. I mean, maybe that's not the only reason why, but that's one of the reasons why, so many teams passed on him because he was going to take
a team for not wanting to work with Scott Boras. Can't stand that guy.
Yeah, but Rocker was going to take up so much of their draft bonus pool, he was demanding to be paid so much over the slot amount.
But they prepared for that. The way that they signed the rest of their players, they made sure to leave enough to sign Rocker, and then they just didn't. And Rocker isn't allowed to sign somewhere else. So he has to wait until next year.
He should be allowed to be a free agent at this point.
I would think so, but them's the rules. He has to wait until next year.
Yeah, the problem with letting him just go into free agency is then anybody could just blow up negotiations with the team that drafted them, and then when it falls apart, they can become a free agent, go anywhere they want. But there's got to be some way of making this more equitable and better. There's no way that Rocker should be I have to go spend another year at Vanderbilt or playing in some crappy professional league for a year before I can sign a major league contract.
I would say, if the team makes an offer, then you get to be a free agent. But in this case, the Mets didn't even put an offer on the table for him. They didn't even give him a lowball offer or anything. They were just you can walk. Get out of here.
I mean, this is an epic fail out of the Mets. I feel like that happens way too common, or way too often. But you can't draft this guy. You can't have rearranged the whole rest of your draft and then not sign the guy, right? You have to land the plane. You have to finish the deal. So, how did they pick him and not know he had an elbow issue? It also is worth pointing out that why did Vandy throw him so much to the point where he's finally about to go pro and his arm is going to fall off? There's a whole lot of issues here, and there's not a whole lot of good angles to me.
Yeah, and it seems like certain people were aware that Rocker was not what they wanted, but I don't know if it was injury related or not, but I mean, he was falling in the draft also because of potentially lost velocity as well. That could be linked to some type of elbow injury here as well. So people were aware that Rocker was not, Rocker was a potential number 1 overall pick this time last year. And then he was being mocked still probably close to top 5 in a lot of places. And then everybody was passing on him. He falls, all the way to 10. People figured he would go 5 or 6. People thought the Orioles might take him at 5. The Orioles didn't. So clearly people were aware that Rocker was not 100% or that something was inhibiting or limiting his draft value. So the Mets should have been aware of that as well and been willing to say, okay, but it's at 10, so 10's good enough. Instead, they seemed like they were just caught by surprise. On draft night, they were like, holy crap, this guy fell to us. And then they realized, oh, there's a reason he fell to you. And say, well, you should have known that already.
There shouldn't be any surprises on draft night. You have all these scouts. You should have done your due diligence You should know everything about the guy you're drafting. Like, in the NFL, don't they send private investigators after people when they're about to draft them? Like, they leave no stone unturned, I'm pretty sure. So, like, if you're the New York Mets, I mean, it seems to me like there shouldn't be any surprises. But, the Mets are just the Mets. So
That they are.
That seems to be their thing. We're somehow under 2 hours. We're done with our list here.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Unless I missed something. Yeah, I thought this would take, I don't know, about 4 hours.
I guess we're getting quicker.
More efficient.
More efficient, which is good because we're getting close to football season, and that's when we get very inefficient.
Tighten the belt, baby.
Yeah.
Tighten the belt.
Tighten that stuff up, as Aaron Boone might say.
It's season 4 time, baby. We gotta really get it together. We gotta show it's like we have arrived. That's season 4. That's us. We're gonna be like Seinfeld. Be like, yes, boom, we're iconic now. Worship us.
Yeah, hopefully you don't get canceled at our peak, or
don't tell Jerry Seinfeld that. He'll flip out on you like they did on Larry King.
Yeah. We got some feedback from my sister. She says she's enjoying listening. Apparently I was getting heated talking about the Ravens and Lamar Jackson getting COVID again.
Who can blame you?
Yes.
Okay, don't need to get heated again. We did it once. We're good. Like,
Deep breath, Seven.
Goose fraba.
In, out.
What was that word? What language was that in? Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. I went to Carowinds this weekend and had a great time. So shout out to the border of North and South Carolina. So I've returned safely.
You've now ridden how many different roller coasters in this country in your lifetime, Evan?
99.
Ooh.
Big 100 coming up whenever or wherever.
Yeah. So, maybe, I'm kind of thinking number 100 might be in Hershey next week, because that's where Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points. So
does Hershey Park have a roller coaster you've never ridden before?
They have 3 I've never ridden before.
Ooh.
Okay. There you go.
So that is looking to happen. So yeah, before we get out of here, let me scroll all the way back up to the top.
Well, my pitcher for the Yankees just gave up a home run to Cedric Mullins.
So Cedric Mullins, 1-0 Orioles.
Yay!
He is a member of Eagle Fang Baseball, so happy about that.
I didn't even know who I'm playing this week. Am I playing Eric this week?
No, you're not.
No, you're playing Drew, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, you're playing Drew, and you're currently losing 1 to minus 0.25.
Oh, jeez. Well, I only have 3 players going this week. Or today.
Yeah. I've only got 2.
Everybody's off.
Yeah.
I was wondering why I couldn't clinch the division with a Drew loss. That explains why, because I'm playing him. His magic number's like 2, so it's over. If he loses. So yeah, do y'all have anything to add, Sean? You're a guest this week. Any shout outs? Anybody who needs to get lit up for something stupid they did or anything like that?
Well, I mean, you've already covered Lamar Jackson, so.
Oh,
anything else grinding your gears?
Unbelievable! Come on!
But no, it's been great. Thank you for having me. Look forward to sending in questions every week for the NFL.
Oh, you're going to send in some questions. We have a spot for you on our sheet in the mailbag section. It's been empty for months.
I know. Well, unfortunately, football is not happening during these months. But once the XFL gets back, in operations in 2023.
We'll let Eric answer those questions.
For XFL.
Okay. Well, there's a new
I'll
football
answer those
league coming
questions
next
by
year,
saying
too.
next question.
Yeah.
On that
Austin
topic,
Hayes has hit a home run. It's now 2-0 Orioles.
jeez.
All right.
Anyway, on that topic of football season right around the corner, quick heads up to all our listeners. We'll be doing our fan contest again this year, and hopefully we'll get some more submissions. We'll actually have Google Forms this year for you to make your picks on. That'll hopefully streamline the scoring and everything for me, so I won't make as many errors as I was making last year. James Daly had to keep correcting me on. But because I'm terrible at math, it's what I do.
We noticed.
So keep an eye out for that. I don't know yet what our plans are, if we're going to continue to make picks live on the show or if we'll just put that on the blog. But definitely keep an eye out for the picks contest. We'd love to have some more people participating in that this year.
Yeah. Eric, anything else to add before we get out of here?
I'm good.
Okay. I guess that will wrap up this week's show, unless I'm forgetting something else. So yeah, if you've made it this far into this podcast, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you will be, the podcast will be beamed directly to your device as soon as it is posted. So you won't have to be checking your podcast app and updating it all the time. It'll just be right there as soon as we post it. So you can find this podcast wherever you're listening to it right now. In addition, it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Podcasts. Be sure to let us know if we need to put it on your podcast app of choice that I didn't just mention. You can let us know by emailing us at thesportsballers@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at sportsballers18. You can follow Corey on Twitter at Corey Puffett. You can follow Eric on Twitter at Quagmire67. Follow me on Twitter at Evan_Ash13. And you can follow Sean on Twitter at Spiegelmaniac. Is that how you pronounce that? Is it Spiegel or Spiegel?
Spiegel. Josh Spiegel,
yeah.
Baby.
Yeah, Josh Spiegel, 98 Rock, shout out.
I am not familiar with him. But yeah, the maniac for that guy. Is that it? I think that's it. Guess a little reminder to, don't be an idiot and get your COVID vaccine. I'm tired of all the tiptoeing around. Well, hopefully and maybe, these people have their personal choices. Well, it's my personal choice to call you an idiot. So there you go. Get your shot, and act like you care about somebody other than yourself. Tell the people you love that you love them. Don't be a jerk. And for Corey and Eric and Sean this week, I'm Evan. This has been the Sports Ballers Podcast. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week.